All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores. And are the Los Angeles Rams running from the Washington Commanders in these playoffs? Also, Cliff Kingsbury wants to be a head coach again. We're going to talk about the report that apparently he's going to interview for that Bears head coaching job. Also, of course, we got to show some love for the Washington Commanders Pro Bowl success and dive into every angle there. And also, as promised, we're doing trivia and Commanders facts, or really Redskins facts, every day this entire calendar year. The fact today, the Commanders went 8-1 in the 2022 season, finishing just half a game out of the final NFC playoff spot. That fact was kind of like anticlimactic. That's why I wanted to go ahead and include that in the beginning of the video. Typically, I want to save, especially if it's a trivia, I'll ask the question in the beginning, and then I'll give you the answer at the end. But that fact was just so meh, I just went ahead and threw it in the beginning so y'all wouldn't be waiting and anticipating a great fact, and then it just ended up being that one at the end. But either way, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. We'll be live streaming this upcoming Dallas Cowboys game, so make sure you pull up for that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with the Pro Bowl love that the Washington Commanders received, but honestly, I would word it as they earned, because two Commanders made the official Pro Bowl. No matter what happens, quarterback Jaden Daniels and wide receiver Terry McLaurin made the Pro Bowl. Again, regardless of anything that goes down, they are officially on the roster day one. But then we also have 11 alternates, 13 players total who could possibly end up making the Pro Bowl under certain circumstances. You have Bobby Wagner, Tyler Ott, and Nick Bellore as first alternates at linebacker, long snapper, and special teamer. Then you have Tyler Biadasz, Frankie Louvu, and punter Tress Way as second alternates. Then you have Austin Eckler, Dante Fowler Jr., Jeremy Reeves as third alternates, and then Jeremy Chin and Zach Ertz as fifth alternates. So that's a ceiling of potentially 13 Pro Bowlers if just somehow everything goes perfectly right for the Washington Commanders. Highly doubt it, but that's still really cool. I mean, that's two people who just straight up made the Pro Bowl. Then there's three people that are in line as first alternates, first in line, ready to go. If any player at those respective positions are not able to go, they're first in line. Then you have three more people who are second alternates. So injuries or maybe teams going to the Super Bowl can end up helping us send even more Pro Bowlers. So I'm really excited about that. That's really cool. Unless we go to the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? But also, you could always be a team that sends no Pro Bowlers, like we've usually done in recent history. Because just to let you know, the New York Jets, nor the New Orleans Saints, Miami Dolphins, nor the Tennessee Titans sent any Pro Bowlers. They have no Pro Bowlers on their roster, which is amazing. The New York Jets especially, man, that's insane with how much they just went all in and put all of their eggs in one basket for this season. The fact that it's not working. I mean, Sauce Gardner, you traded for Devontae Adams, you have future Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers, you have Garrett Wilson, so many players, even more players outside of that, honestly, Pro Bowl level players, but none of them made it to the Pro Bowl, which is absolutely incredible. Also, I mean, the fact that the Commanders 2024 turnaround is just insane. Remember, last year we had 0, and then we have definitively 2 this year. I mean, that's just, if you wanted to know how phenomenal of a job Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and these guys have done since they've gotten here, from 0 last year to 2 definitive with a potential to have 13, just in 1 year, is an insane turnaround, man. And also think about it like this. 13 of the Pro Bowl honors players that the Washington Commanders have, again, 2 definitives, but 11 alternates, only 3 were brought in before Adam Peters. That was Jeremy Reeves, Tress Way, and Terry McLaurin. And remember, Terry McLaurin, Tress Way, and Jeremy Reeves, I believe all of those guys are Jay Gruden guys. I don't think either of those guys are Ron Rivera guys. I could be wrong on maybe one of them, but I know for a fact Terry McLaurin and Tress Way have been here before Ron Rivera got here, and I think Jeremy Reeves as well. So that's incredible. All of the other 8 guys were brought in by Adam Peters in this front office and coaching staff that just got here in February. And also, we do got to point out the fact that Jaden Daniels made the Pro Bowl as a rookie quarterback. You know how insane that is? Like, we just drafted a Pro Bowl Commander player just 8-9 months ago. That's absolutely insane, man. We've had people in their 12th year never make the Pro Bowl here under Dan Snyder. That's incredible, man. That boy Jaden Daniels does it within 8-9 months. That's insane. And so also I want to point out the fact that not only is this the first time since 1991 that the Washington Commanders have 11 wins in a season, and we still have the potential to get to 12, it's also the first time since 1991 that the Commanders have a quarterback wide receiver duo headed to the Pro Bowl as well. That is insane, man. So let's break it down. First of all, quarterback Jaden Daniels and wide receiver Terry McLaurin have both been named to the 2025 Pro Bowl. Washington is sending 2 offensive players to the Pro Bowl for the first time since 2017 when we sent Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff. But it's the first time Washington is sending a quarterback and wide receiver duo to the Pro Bowl in the same year since 1991 when we sent Mark Rippon and Gary Clark. That's phenomenal, man. And so far this season, with still 1 game left to go, Jaden Daniels is 325 of 468 passing attempts with a 69.4 completion percentage, and he was like historically great in the upper 80s to start the year, but you know, a couple of ugly games in the middle completion percentage wise, but still balling out. 25 passing touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, 864 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. He leads our team in rushing as well, of course, passing. And then Terry McLaurin also selected to the Pro Bowl, of course, with 1 more game to go as well. 74 receptions, 14 yards per reception, 1,034 receiving yards, and 12 receiving touchdowns. And if Jaden Daniels could have just connected with him on a few more of those deep bombs, I mean, imagine what his stats would look like right now. And then going back to Jaden Daniels, if you take a look on the screen right now, you're taking a look at an adjusted EPA per play leaderboard for 2024. So when you're accounting for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions as well, which technically negatively affects the quarterback according to this chart, fumble recoveries and interception returns, and giving credit for expected yards after catch only in accounting for defenses faced, Jaden Daniels is technically the 2nd best quarterback in the entire NFL, only behind Joe Burrow. When you're taking a look at the deepest of deep advanced analytics, technically Jaden Daniels is the 2nd best quarterback in the entire NFL, again only behind Joe Burrow. Also moving on, speaking of rookies, Jaden Daniels is one of only 3 rookies to make it to the Pro Bowl. And you have, of course, Rams edge rusher Jared Verse. You have, of course, my Georgia dog, Raiders tight end Brock Bowers. And then you also have quarterback Jaden Daniels, Washington Commanders' own franchise quarterback. Also, Jaden Daniels is the 4th rookie quarterback since 1970 to be selected into the initial Pro Bowl roster. Not as an alternate, but the official one. You made it first go. You have Robert Griffin III in 2012, and Dan Marino 1983, and Dak Prescott in 2016. Those are the only other 3 outside of Jaden Daniels this year, 3 quarterbacks to make the first Pro Bowl roster, not as an alternate, ever, as a rookie. Also, Jaden Daniels just in year 1, shouts out to @Jaden Daniels MVP for pointing this out, led the Commanders to 11 wins. Last time we did it was 1991. Most rushing yards as a rookie quarterback in NFL history. Completely elevated the offense, breaking franchise and NFL records every week. Pro Bowl corner, and also Rookie of the Year favorite. And of course, speaking of that, well, Jaden Daniels won Offensive Rookie of the Week again. He was named the Pepsi Rookie of the Week for Week 17. It's now his 11th Rookie of the Week honor this season, only extending his NFL record that he already set the last time that he did it. Insane. Also, if you take a look on the screen right now, this chart is very impressive. And mind you, Jaden Daniels still has another game. He's 364 yards away from surpassing my Westlake's great, Atlanta's own Cam Newton for the most all-time when it comes to most passing and rushing yards combined by a rookie in a season. You have CJ Stroud's rookie season last year, who's 5th. Jaden Daniels already currently 4th. Remember, he missed most of that Carolina Panthers game. So you could say like Cam Newton played 1 less game a season than Jaden Daniels did, but at the same time, he missed pretty much the entire Panthers game, and he was even banged up after that. So I think it's just about equal almost. Now, I don't necessarily see Jaden Daniels playing entire 4 quarters against the Cowboys. But if he can somehow go ahead and get 365 yards in this upcoming Cowboys game before he sits out, that would be a phenomenal thing for him to break the rookie record in NFL history for most yards combined by a rookie quarterback. Again, just to let you know, Cam Newton number 1, Andrew Luck 2, Justin Herbert 3, Jaden Daniels 4, CJ Stroud 5th. Again, that's Westlake's own Cam Newton, so you know what I'm saying. So even if Jaden Daniels doesn't break the record, I like the fact that Westlake is still holding on to it. Also, going back to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is the first Washington wide receiver to go to multiple Pro Bowls since Gary Clark. The team's wide receivers who have gone to at least 2 in our entire franchise's history: Gary Clark, Art Monk, Charlie Brown, and Charlie Taylor. And then also, before we move on, speaking of Terry McLaurin, because he made the Pro Bowl, he had an incentive in his contract that now he's rewarded $250,000 just by simply making the Pro Bowl. There's also a list of other NFL veterans who've received pretty big paychecks for making the Pro Bowl as well, but we're only here for Terry McLaurin, so that's the reason I only read that one. Now let's move on to a part of this video while probably most of y'all are even here. Let's talk about Cliff Kingsbury potentially leaving the Washington Commanders. Well, apparently, according to Jeremy Fowler, offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury, is expected to interview with the Bears for their head coach opening. Kingsbury will apparently be selective with the process and evaluate all of his options. But Jeremy Fowler also noted, quote, "I don't think he's ironing shirts for job interviews just yet." And he also said he's still getting paid head coach money from Arizona and gets to coach quarterback Jaden Daniels on a Washington team that should be even better next season, unquote. So he told you what Cliff Kingsbury may plan on doing, but he also gave you the reason as to why Cliff Kingsbury may actually not end up leaving Washington at all. Shouts out to George Carmi because he brings up a great point. I completely agree. He said, "I'm hopeful that Cliff Kingsbury stays. I'd like some continuity with Jaden as well as our offensive staff just in general. It'd be nice to hit the 2025 season running and simply just add pieces to our system." Kingsbury is still being paid by the Cardinals until 2027 as a head coach. That is insane. He hasn't been head coaching for them for so long. It's insane that he's still getting paid as a head coach through 2027 for those guys. So the money incentive may be less important for him. If he's going to do it, it's going to be simply for more power and not necessarily more money, unless he just wants double head coach money. He wants to be making Cardinals head coach money on top of the potentially Bears head coach money that he'll be making, I guess, if he were that greedy. Also, shouts out to Sam48 for bringing up another good point. He said, "I think he'll accept interviews, but it's far from guaranteed that he'll leave." Cliff, first of all, has leverage. He's in a good spot and is still getting paid by the Cardinals as a head coach and knows not every job is a good job. Big subplot in the coming weeks. And I do want to point out the fact, me as in Rico of StreetScores, that this is a guy that was stressed out having to be the head coach for the Cardinals. There were Cardinals reporters that as soon as we hired Cliff Kingsbury as our offensive coordinator, went on interviews like with John Com and things like that, and basically said that Cliff Kingsbury clearly only wanted to deal with the offense, and that's it. He wanted nothing to deal with the defense. He wanted nothing to deal with calling free agents, calling their agents and things like that, team infrastructure, talent evaluation and things like that. He just wants to develop a great offense, develop and call a great offense, develop offensive talent and things like that. But one of the Cardinals reporters even said that Cliff Kingsbury would kind of act like he went to the defensive side of the team and kind of micromanaged a little bit just to kind of show face. And then as soon as he could, he would go right back to the offense with Kyler Murray and those guys and coaching them up and things like that. He completely neglected the defensive side of the entire team when he was the head coach for the Cardinals. He took it as a role hey, I'm a head coach. It's nice to have the title. It's nice to have the payroll. But he did not like the responsibility at all. And I just highly doubt that he'll like the responsibility again. Things are going so smoothly when all he has to worry about is the offensive side of the ball, and that's it. Things are going very well for him right here. I don't think he wants to go back to being a failure as a head coach because he just simply doesn't even want to deal with all sides of being a head coach. Again, you have to talk to agents, you have to worry about cap space, you have to worry about a talent evaluation, scouting and things like that. Man, he don't want to do all of that, man. Also, remember that Ben Johnson went back to the Lions after he was getting head coaching opportunities this past offseason, which worked out very well for him in the end. And then also Bobby Slowick went back to the Texans after he was getting head coaching opportunities. And it didn't work out as well for him as it did for Ben Johnson, but still, coaches get head coaching interviews all of the time time, opportunities all of the time, every coaching cycle. Just because he's going to potentially take interviews does not automatically means that he plans on leaving and that he's telling people he wants to leave. He's just going through the formalities and doing his interviews. Also, shouts out to Disco because he brings up a good point. If Cliff does leave, though, expect a line out of the door for potential offensive coordinators that will want to work with Jaden Daniels, although an in-house option probably would be most likely, I'm not gonna lie, but that's a great point that if Cliff Kingsbury does leave, and I prefer for him to stay, he's my number one option for 2025 and beyond as our offensive coordinator, just off of the continuity. Why Fix was not broken, you know what I'm saying? Things are going very well right now. He's shown the ability to finally adapt back at what, you know, his whole stigma as the head coach for the Cardinals, being their offensive minded head coach and things like that, was his ability to come out of the gate swinging. First half of seasons, one of the best offenses in the entire NFL each of those seasons. Then second half of seasons, defenses figured him out. He never bounced back. He's officially bounced back for the Washington Commanders as an offensive. He couldn't do it as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, he's figured out how to counter the counter punches that defenses were throwing to him. He was basically countering the counters, and shouts out to him for that. I'm not sure if he could find a way to do that as a head coach. I mean, again, why Fix was not broken. I love the fact that Cliff Kingsbury is here. I'm pretty sure he loves being here. You're not going to leave and find a quarterback as good as Jaden Daniels really anywhere else. I already think he's a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL this year. Imagine how good he's going to be next year. So, hey man, my number one option is Cliff Kingsbury. But again, to Disco's point, I completely agree that if Cliff Kingsbury does end up leaving for a head coaching opportunity, then the line will be ridiculously long for people, for geniuses, trying to line up and try to become the next offensive coordinator for this team so that they can be able to take some credit for Jaden Daniels, add Jaden Daniels to their resume and things like that. So I'm saying all of that to say that even if Cliff Kingsbury leaves, which again, I hope he doesn't, but if he does, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up getting a very qualified, really good offensive coordinator in his place because we're going to be selecting from the cream of the crop. Also, Cliff Kingsbury even spoke on this whole situation in his press conference after our practice today, January 2nd, Thursday. Cliff Kingsbury said that he does actually want to be a head coach again, quote, at some point, unquote, but he does love it here in Washington. But he said that he will not comment about potential interviews just yet. If you wanted to hear from him directly for the next 1 minute and 12 seconds, here is Cliff Kingsbury answering that question. Now, if you want to skip this, just go ahead and skip to 1 minute and 12 seconds after I start the clip right now.
Do you want to be a head coach again?
Yeah, I'm sure at some point. Yeah, at some point.
Do you plan to interview for jobs this year?
I won't comment on that, but yeah, we'll see how everything plays out. But I'm very happy here. Yeah, this has been an awesome place and has really helped me kind of rekindle my love for the sport.
And last one, but what did you learn from your first stint and what would you be looking for?
Yeah, I think the first one, I didn't know what I didn't know, really. Coming from college, I had bounced around on teams as a player, but not as a coach on any level. And so to come in there, I don't think I set the foundation the way I would do it after watching DQ and how he set the foundation from day one. And it was, these are the standards. This is what we won't compromise. This is what we're going to be. I definitely could have done a better job of that. And kind of once you don't lay it out like that, it's hard to put it back in. You know, it's hard to kind of reset it. And I think that's where he's done such a great job. It's like, this is what we're going to be from day one. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And the guys bought in. And, you know, he's led in an incredible way by doing that.
And I'm not gonna lie, from the way that he's talking, the way that it sounds, I don't know, this is me on the outside looking in, but from the way that it sounds like he may not be here too long. Even if he does stay for 2025, it sounds like a guy that at the very furthest away, he's gonna leave but for the 2026 season to go become a head coach. So maybe we keep him for next season, but I don't see us keeping him much longer after that, just to be completely honest with you. I mean, even Ian Rappaport is even tweeting about it. He said, imagine he gets interviews this year, ... basically saying, yeah, Cliff Kingsbury is probably a hot name on the market right now. But shouts out to JP Finley, because I agree with this as well. He said, obviously, Cliff will get interest this cycle, deservedly. obvious connection with Caleb as well. But Cliff is smart and in a great spot working with Jaden Daniels and is still getting paid by Arizona like we've already talked about. It's no lock he's gone. A lot of the head coaching jobs available kind of stink anyway. Now, if Cincy opens up, maybe that changes things, and that's a good point. But outside of Cincinnati, if that potentially becomes available, I just don't really see any of these other situations being good enough for Cliff Kingsbury to just say, hey, I'll go ahead and dive into it. Also, Caleb Williams was even asked by the Chicago media about what traits he values in a coach and specifically about Kingsbury's candidacy to potentially become his head coach for Chicago. He answered both of those questions. If you want to find the full details of that, you can definitely look it up. But I'm going to give you the Cliff Kingsbury part specifically. He said, quote, I've been around Cliff. I know what type of guy he is. I know that he loves football. I know that he wants to win. He's a competitor. And so in many different aspects that I was just speaking about, I've been around him. So I would say that being around him, knowing him, asking him questions and things like that, I think obviously if he was here, I'd probably have more to say. But I think he fits a bunch of those qualities that I said. Again, if you want to know those qualities, that's like a whole paragraph in itself that I'm going to skip past. If you want to go check that out, definitely go look up what Caleb Williams had to say about Cliff Kingsbury and what he looks for in a head coach. Also, I want to let you know, by NFL rules, teams cannot start even requesting interviews with Cliff Kingsbury until January 6th. That's 4 days from now. But they can't even actually interview him until 3 days after the Commanders' wild card playoff game as well. So at least we have a few days for him to at least focus purely on the Commanders. We'll see what happens after we potentially beat who we end up playing as the 6th seed in the NFL, which we're going to talk about the Rams soon. It sounds like it may not end up being the Los Angeles Rams like a lot of us hope. We'll get there soon. Also, just to let you know, successful franchises deal with this all of the time. So even if Cliff Kingsbury ends up leaving, which we don't want to happen, just know this is the byproduct of being a great team. It comes with the territory. It's a good thing. If anything, it's a compliment to your franchise, to your front office, to your coaching staff, that they want to take people from, you're winning, you're doing good things. People want those good things that you have. Pretty much my entire life, we haven't really had good things that other teams have wanted. Now we do. It's gonna take some time for us to kind of adjust to the situation because we're not used to it. Because we haven't been a respectable franchise for a long time. Again, basically for my entire life since Dan Snyder's owned the team. So a lot of us, most including me, not used to other teams trying to take our coaches, wide out in the open for everybody to see. We're they're the hot name on the market thing like that. Not even some behind the scenes, I see what you're doing, but this is not even a headline worthy thing. No, Cliff Kingsbury name is plastered all over ESPN articles everywhere and things like that. It's like Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury for that Bears job right now. They've been talking about it for months. This is my first time talking about it and acknowledging it, but the media has been talking about this for months, ever since Jaden Daniels has been catching fire and this offense has been historically great at times and efficient. Cliff Kingsbury's name has been attached to the Bears just as much as Ben Johnson, so he's probably a top 2 name as far as head coaching candidates go, especially since a lot of people prefer offensive-minded head coaches. So this is something we have to deal with now, people. People are going to try to steal Brandon Sosna from us eventually. I don't see Adam Peters really leaving because this is his baby, but teams are going to try to maybe even steal Dan Quinn from us. People are going to try to take Joe Witt Jr. from us and try to make him a head coach at some point later in the future. This is something we just have to get used to, y'all, just to let you know. Also, Cliff Kingsbury, jokingly, this has nothing to do with him potentially leaving for the Bears as a head coach or anything like that. Also in his media press conference after practice today, he said for the first 2 months, he called Olamide Zaccheaus Oz. And then De'Ami Brown finally stepped up to him and told him he hates being called Oz. It's O-Z. And then Cliff Kingsbury even said, quote, it's like the whitest mistake ever, unquote. I thought that was funny and I felt like I should include that. Also, Joe Witt Jr. had his press conference as well, but this video will run on for forever if I go and break down everything that he said, because we still got to talk about these Los Angeles Rams and a few more things after that as well. But one of the most notable quotes that he had in his press conference, he said, quote, we need to win this football game, period. That's what it is, a divisional game. It's the Dallas Cowboys. We keep the 6th seed. We need to win this football game, unquote. So again, just to reiterate and to basically echo Dan Quinn and his feelings on this upcoming game against the Cowboys, Joe Witt Jr. is on the exact same page. They want to win this game very badly. Of course, they're former Cowboys coaches just from last year. It hasn't even been a full calendar year since they were coaching the Dallas Cowboys. So there's probably something personal there as well. But it's a divisional game, like he said, so you want to win those. And then also on top of that, they want this 6th seed very badly. Now, moving on, it seems like the Los Angeles Rams are running from the Washington Commanders right now. Sean McVay has officially announced that Matthew Stafford will rest Sunday versus the Seahawks, and I'm also assuming that a lot of the starters will probably rest as well, and that the Rams will end up starting quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo for the regular season finale. Shouts out to Kevin Sheehan for calling him out, because I completely agree. He said avoiding us. They would rather play Minnesota or Detroit at Bucks, our likely wild card round opponent at this point. So go ahead and gear up and prepare to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round rather than Los Angeles Rams. I prefer the Rams because the Rams don't really have much of a home fan base for real in Los Angeles. Like their games are usually away games even when they're in Los Angeles, especially for the Washington Commanders brand. I mean, with everybody, our fan base was lying dormant. We've been a big monster lying dormant waiting for Dan Snyder to sell the team. Now that Dan Snyder sold the team and we look really good, we have a franchise quarterback, we have 11 wins with a game left to play, regular season already clinched the playoff spot. Our fan base is serious right now. Did y'all see the way we dominated the stadium against the Falcons at home just this past weekend? I would not be surprised if we go to Los Angeles and turn that into a home game as well. Plus, Jaden Daniels is from LA, so all of his friends, family, everybody close to him will be at the game. I just feel like that would be a beautiful scenario. I'm not even getting into schematics as like, I feel like our offense matches up well against their defense or anything like that. I'm not even talking about that type of stuff. I'm just talking about even outside of that, the really only football aspect I'm thinking of is us turning their home crowd into our home crowd and taking that advantage, maybe for some false starts and things like that. Our team is, we will our team to win as far as a fan base with the crowd and things like that. Outside of that, I just prefer it for so many other reasons that don't even necessarily include football, and I feel like that would be a great gift to Jaden Daniels. His first playoff game, his first playoff win at home in front of everybody he loves. Come on, man. I feel like that would be perfect. So, man, boo the Rams for pretty much running away from us. I hope they end up winning that game even without Matthew Stafford. I feel like that would be perfect. But also, shouts out to Rowdy Pipers 21 on Twitter, because he brings up a good point. If you can't score 30 in your sleep, then you probably don't want to see us anytime soon. So smart move by Sean McVay. I agree there. But he also pointed out the fact that they do have two scenarios. Well-rested team and avoids the Commanders, or well-rested team and plays the Commanders. Either outcome should improve their chances of advancing. So you can kind of see it from their point of view. But I still feel like they're running, because I feel like if you really if you seriously didn't want to play the Vikings nor the Lions, you would do whatever it took to win this game, and you'd be like, I want the Commanders. But right now they're looking at the Commanders like, well, whether we play the Lions, Vikings, or the Commanders, it's whatever. We just want to be healthy. And that sounds like, hey man, they're definitely not avoiding the Lions or Vikings. So maybe they see us at least somewhere in the same tier as those opponents. Maybe they're looking at all of us the same. Who knows? And hey, Rams, I'm not gonna lie. If you're gonna start a backup quarterback, go ahead and start my dog Stetson Bennett, man, instead. Nobody wants to see Jimmy Garoppolo out there. I know my Georgia Bulldog Nation doesn't want to, so go ahead and throw Stetson Bennett out there. I think it will be far more entertaining. And hey, man, I really hope they end up looking up and still somehow winning that game. Hey, Jimmy G, never rooted for you before, but I'm gonna need you to win this one, because I would definitely prefer to play the Rams in the wild card game. Now, other news before we get up out of here. Dante Fowler just needs a half sack to reach 11 sacks on the season and get a $1.5 million bonus this year. So shouts out to him. I really hope he gets it. Shouts out to my boy RVA_point of views on Twitter. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. He's the one that provided that update for us. Also, shouts out to Underdog NFL for this. Versus the Cowboys. We already clinched the playoff berth, but we can lock in the number 6 seed with a win, or even if we don't beat the Cowboys, if the Packers end up losing their final game of the season, we still end up with the 6th seed. But I want to go ahead and beat the Cowboys. I don't want to get swept by them. So what the Packers do should be inconsequential anyway. We need to go ahead and beat the Cowboys. Also, the Cowboys can improve / finalize their number 13 pick in the draft with an L. I thought the Cowboys were picking higher than that, so I'm happy to see that the Cowboys aren't in like top 10 pick range. I love that. They have a bad season and they're also not picking in the top 10. I feel like that's a perfect result for us burgundy and gold fans. Also, Zach Ertz needs 9 receptions to gain an additional $250,000, 90 more receiving yards for another $250,000, and 2 more touchdowns touchdowns for another $250,000. He already got those bonuses, he already hit those marks last week in overtime to get an additional $750K. He can do it again against the Cowboys. Also, Austin Eckler, even though I doubt he plays, needs 145 rushing yards for a $125,000 bonus. Even if he does play, I highly doubt he gets that, but I also just doubt he plays at all. Also, Terry McLaurin only needs one touchdown to break a Washington burgundy and gold Redskin Washington football team commander, whatever you want to call this, record. Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, let's get Terry that record, please. And then the last thing I want to say before we get up out of here, also shouts out to George Carmi for pointing this out. According to league policy, teams have the option for a third helmet for the 2025 season. We already have the classic, we already have the alternate. Maybe they're thinking like a gold or maybe an all-white helmet maybe next season. We'll see. But just to let you know, I already told you now, we'll probably talk about it again in the offseason once it's like making bigger headlines, because right now everybody's more so focused on the playoffs, the final game of the season. So nobody's really talking about it. It kind of got swept under the rug. We'll probably revisit this later on down the line a couple of months from now. But NFL teams are allowed to bring in a third helmet into their uniform designs and things like that. So, hey, man, maybe we can get an all gold, mostly gold, maybe a mostly white or something like that, maybe some color rush type of thing. We'll see. Yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. I'm sorry that trivia question or that fun fact wasn't that exciting. Hopefully the next one is better. Oh yeah, I'm already looking at it right now. The next one is a little bit more interesting. So yeah, that one will be better. So make sure you tune in for the next video. Well, even if I do a video later on tonight, then you'll have to wait till January 3rd for that video for the trivia question. Just stay tuned for that. But of course, if you made it this far in the video, please leave a like on this video, and I really salute you for even making it this far. Also, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. How you feel about our Pro Bowl situation and the difference a year can make? How do you feel about the Rams running away from us? How do you feel about Cliff Kingsbury potentially leaving us to go become a head coach somewhere, most notably like the Chicago Bears? Do you think that's that's actually a realistic thing that could happen? Do you feel like he actually plans on leaving, or if he's just going to take his interviews and return? And if he does return for the 2025 season, how long do you think Cliff Kingsbury will stick around? Do you think he'll be here long term, and then it'll just be him and Jaden Daniels for forever? Let me know how you feel about all of that. I really appreciate y'all. Again, leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm gonna try to read and reply to as many comments as I can. I'm out.